Let's go. Oh man, we got the Gale in the house. So thank you everyone for hopping in. Welcome to the TapsTrades channel where I help keep you update on all things Ecomi, Veve, NFTs, crypto, Metaverse. I have another exciting guest today. Help me in welcoming Veve Content Creator OG, fellow Mermacorno fanboy, the three-eyed savage himself, the Gale. Welcome.
Yo, what's going on, my BBOGs, my OMI homies, and everybody else on YouTube? It's your bromy, the Gale, back at it again on TapsTrades channel. What's happening, Taps? Thanks for having me, bro.
Yes. Oh, I love the intro, man. It's good to have you. It's cool to have you on because like when I started my channel, we were like right around the same time and I was primarily OMI. And so when I was trying to learn more about the collectibles or like the collecting strategy, I remember watching your channel, a few others really early because you've already been collecting like I think NBA Top Shots and a few other things. So it was cool to have your channel that was more primarily Veve collectible focused early on, so that way I could kind of learn from that side. So it's awesome to have you on like almost a year later.
Yeah, man. It's a long time coming, but finally made it.
Here we go. How did you on the Black Panther drop?
I struck out. I always second guess my strategy after I miss. Like I tried the one tap thing where you see the button and just tap it real quick.
Yep.
And I was like, I should have spammed it, But how about you?
Yeah. I always do spam when it comes to blind boxes, the space gate. Like that's what's been effective for me. But then I watched Johnny Dunn's channel and he nails every single thing with one tap and timing. I'm just like, all right, I can't, I watched Johnny Dunn, but I can't try the technique because I'm not a musician. I don't have the timing down like he does.
Yeah. It's expected though. I'm used to it now. Just hit the secondary market.
Yep. That's the expectation, right? Is like if you hit it on the drop, it's a win. Don't expect it because then you're just going to hurt yourself long term. But yeah, we're gonna get into a couple of questions here. But thanks everyone who's hopping in here. Hit that like button, fam. And we'll be getting to a couple of questions. I have a bunch of questions just selfishly for the Gale before we start addressing some of the community. Of course, super chats do take priority. So if you super chat, we'll make sure that the question gets asked while we have the Gale on our channel. But before we do anything, go ahead and open up a second window on your browser. And I want you to go ahead and go into YouTube, go to the Gale's channel, make sure you're subscribed, hit that notification bell for all his content, always keeping us up to date with fire content on what's happening with Veve Collectibles. And I like the way you always approach your content because it's always like things that I don't think are mass covered, right? You're always thinking outside of the box on what's something that's informative, what's another way to give value to the community where others aren't really talking about this. So you have great content and love what you present, as well as check them out on Twitter, thegale.eth. Love the domain.
Appreciate that, Taps. Appreciate that.
Of course. All right. So before we kind of do anything, we got to kind of jump into some lightning questions just because I think it's fun to warm up, get the brain going before we start talking big brain activity.
All right.
All right. So lightning questions, answer as fast as possible. No thinking.
Okay.
Favorite Mermacorno?
Tropicana.
Whoa. All right. I'm a Cora boy, so man, surprised me there.
Pineapple
Ecto One
Gang.
or James Bond motorcycle?
James Bond motorcycle.
Yes. Are you just a motorcycle fan or prefer James Bond over Ghostbusters?
I think I just rather have the James Bond motorcycle. I don't even have one yet. I got an Ecto though, but I rather have the motorcycle, I think.
Are you waiting for the price to drop more?
Just waiting.
I feel like that's something both you and I always do. We're like, all right, I'm gonna watch for the price to go down. Like, and usually I feel pretty good about scooping the bottom, but there's been a few things where I think both of us have been like, shit, I missed it.
Yeah, no, I already know what you're talking about.
Yep. I'm not gonna mention it because I'm still waiting for that bottom to go lower.
Yeah.
All right, blind box drop or standard drop?
Blind box.
Yes, sir. Collectibles or comics?
Collectibles.
All right. First appearance Harley Quinn or first appearance Joker?
Joker.
stack Gwen Stacy Spidey Gwens or stack CoverGirl Wonder Womans?
Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman?
Mm-hmm.
All right. There's a few that I would have said Harley Quinn. I said Spidey Gwens, but that's why we have other people on channels, right? Just gotta get like a melding of the minds.
I almost went those ways too. I just like split second just went the other way.
Sorry, I'm just reading through the comics here, and it's I think the thing's hitting your shirt again.
Oh, sorry about that.
A little static.
All right,
no problem. Make sure it's not my speaker too. Oh man, sorry, I read a few of these, but all right. So let's get into it. So when I looked at your channel initially, I remember back in the day, like you had a few like Top Shots. So is that how you started in NFTs? Was with NBA Top Shots, and then what? I guess, how did you find out about Veve, like the natural transition from NBA Top Shots to Veve? I feel like there was a lot of people who made that jump once Veve became a little bit more known.
Yeah, so I guess technically, Unstoppable Domains was my first NFT, but those aren't really cool. Domain names, they're okay, but when I found Top Shots, it was kind of like I woke up from the Matrix a little bit. It combined NBA, which I was already a fan of, doing daily fantasy sports, and then they combined it with NFTs, which I was just getting familiar with, and yeah. So I, like you said, I started my first like 5 videos doing Top Shot videos, and then like I'm a grinder, right? Like I stay on YouTube doing research. I was in crypto since 2017. I just stay on YouTube doing research, and I really forget who it was. It might have been Everything Currency. I can't remember, but I heard about Veve and OMI, and I checked out the white paper, and that was the end of that story.
So is that how you kind of learned about like crypto? Was YouTube and like reading and just being time the market?
Well, yeah, a friend called me way back and introduced me to crypto, and funny enough, it was a scam, and I'm surprised I stayed in after that. But yeah, he got me into the rabbit hole, and I just kept digging deeper, and then I found out about crypto that way. But then YouTube was like, the university of YouTube. I just kept watching videos and doing my own research, and I understood the importance, and I stuck around for it.
Man, I'll never forget like one of my old high school friends who I have no idea where he is to this day because it's been years since I've seen him. But I remember back in like 2014, he was telling me about crypto and how he was trying to set his computer up to mine it and was like explaining it to me. But back then, I mean, what, 8 years ago now? I didn't understand investments. I didn't have 2 nickels to rub together. And so the concept of him telling me like, dude, you should throw a couple $100 or set up like one of your janky old computers instead of downloading music, you should start mining this internet currency. I was like, right over my head. And if I had, I mean, I would be wildly in a different spot than I am today.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because that's why I kind of have what's it called? Leniency with people who don't understand NFTs, because it takes people maybe 10 times to hear about it before it finally starts to sink in. Like, I've heard about that before. Let me look into it. So you can't really be upset for people like they don't understand NFTs. They're stupid. I can't believe they don't, understand.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what I try to do too. I still get like if I see just outrageous comments from video game communities. We saw some from the Chaosium community. I stayed out of that one, but I'll occasionally hop in, and just because like I'll say like I'll try to be not combative, but it usually tends to go that way because you're reacting back to people who are being combative, right? But I get it. Like that was the entire world with crypto not long ago. And then now it's the entire world, not entire world, but like a lot of the world still with NFTs as NFTs keep branching out to these new sides of what we all know and love, right? So there's people on the video game side who are, very against it, very want to protect what is old school. Same thing with art, same thing with, board games now. And I think it's going to be a slow transition, just like crypto was. So I get that mentality. Sorry, you're going to say?
No, I was just going to say people usually fear what they don't understand, and they just, it's an instant reaction. Yeah.
I mean, they don't have a third eye that lets them see the future.
Well, they do, but they maybe haven't unlocked it yet.
That's fair. All right, let's get to some Veve. Let's get to some Veve questions, just because
All right.
I'm curious. You know, you've been around for a long time, and I feel like everyone's strategies have changed, not just from a year ago, but from like pretty much every single month. I feel like something changes or something adapts. And so I'm curious, like, would you consider yourself a flipper, a hodler, both? You know, and I'm also curious, like, what has been your best flip of all time, and what is your long time hold that you just are holding for a year plus?
Okay. So when I first started, when I came into VB, I started off as a holder for sure. It was all about, it was all about, damn, it's all about, all about getting those sets, right? You got to get those sets. Keep getting those sets at all costs. It's because we didn't understand. I mean, like we were going off of limited information, right? Like we were just making assumptions that sets would mean everything. So I started off as a set holder, and as time progressed, I think it was really when they dropped the MCP article, Master Collector Program article. That's when I kind of shifted my mind. Like, okay, we saw how many points were going to be, you know, appointed to, having a certain amount of sets, and I mean, we don't know what it's going to look like yet. So right, so I kind of started hedging my situation, and then just started kind of like stacking blue chips. Like I
Mhm.
started stop trying to gun for sets, and then just try to acquire the assets that are going to appreciate over time and hold its value. So I've transitioned to part-time flipper, but I'm mostly still a holder.
And then what's I guess what's been like your best flip? What's your long hold like? Not selling.
Mm,
I feel like everyone's like Walt or Riso or one of those.
yeah. I haven't really had like a humongous flip yet. I haven't really sold anything where it's like set me up in BB yet. I have, hmm. Yeah, I can't say that I have a best flip, honestly, right now. But the second question was my longest hold.
Hmm.
I'm probably going to hold my Ben Riley and Todd, of course, my Ben Riley Ultra Rare.
Ooh, nice,
Yeah,
nice hold.
yeah.
That's one that I still kick myself to this day that I didn't grab. I was speaking with someone in the community that everyone knows, and I remember when it dropped, and
Hmm.
it dropped in price to like 1.3K or something like that,
Oh
or
no.
1.4K after the drop. And I was saying I didn't have the liquidity because at the time I was also more of like going for all the sets, and I wasn't flipping as much, trying to become a master, collector versus trying to stack up as much as possible. And I remember telling them, because they had liquidity, I was like, snag that. Like it's going to rally back. And then it rallied back up to like 3K where it was at for a while. And then look where it is today. Right. So
Yeah, man.
that's one to this day where I'm like, man, if I only followed my own advice, I would probably be a lot better off than I am today.
So much hindsight with this app. It's crazy.
Yep. No, I think sorry, I'm hitting my mic there. I think that's one thing that I'm always considering too is, I do a lot more flipping than I did before.
Hmm.
I was always going for sets, always trying to be a master collector. And then after that first big rally that we saw in September, where we were you could get everything really cheap in like July, August, and then it rallied in September, October, November,
Yeah.
and then it kind of came back down. But like in October, November is where I was like, all right, I need to really change my strategy here and do a mix. But starting to get back into collecting a few more sets while everything's down and cheap. So um, I think
Yeah.
right now a
Hmm.
lot of people are torn, right? Because OMI is down. The entire market has been down with gem squeeze, and there's a lot of, a lot of FUD out there right now because of MTL, how it's been, pushed out. It's being rolled onto groups. It's going to be a while before everyone really has access. So the question that I think a lot of people are asking themselves are, do you think it's smarter right now to buy collectibles while they're in cheap, or do you think it's smarter to put money in OMI, or both?
Yeah. Um, wow. Like if we had more information regarding OMI, my answer might change. Like if we knew an exchange was around the corner, then possibly I would say OMI, because then you can, ride that up. Crypto usually rides up when it gets listed on a new exchange and then quickly sells off or dips right after. So if you time that right, you could play that game. But I
Mhm.
would say collectibles because we've seen where they were. We've seen Steamboat Mickey touch 10K, and it was 3.9. I think it's like 4.5 now.
Mhm.
Like we've seen where these collectibles been. We know they're going to go back. It's only a matter of when, I think.
I agree. Like the way I look at it too is OMI is what collectibles were back when you were stacking Todds for, $100, $200 each, right? Like that's how I look at OMI at its current state. But it's a question of, okay, well, when will OMI go from 60,000 user Vivi to 2.1 million active monthly user Vivi, right? And I think about that where right now I have all the time to keep stacking up OMI while it is super undervalued, like Vivi collectibles were back then. But until we really understand when those exchanges are coming, when there's more catalysts around OMI, when there's utility, when we're going to have more just emphasis on OMI versus Vivi, I agree that right now, in this dip, since they're both at the same time, Vivi
Yeah.
collectibles are really, this is your chance to load up because they're more likely to return back to those highs eventually.
Yeah, and it's funny. Like Omi, the price right now, it's not too much further from when I first bought it in March last year. So it's like it's an interesting game. Like you can continue to stack Omi, but at the same time, I think the collectibles are where it's at. There's like more of an urgency with the collectibles, I think.
But that does beg the question, though. We know that the next OMI utility article is coming out hopefully soon, right?
Uh-huh.
But we know there's going to be additional staking tiers too. So if you're really trying to become like a master collector or just have more advantages in the VV app, you would need some of the higher tiers of that staking with OMI, right? So I feel like a lot of people are not at the third tier, are not going to be at the next coming tiers, which are probably around $25,000 to $50,000 of OMI. So wouldn't that then, in theory, like if you really want to be the best VV collector, best VV flipper investor, you would need to then stack OMI now in order to have that availability once that comes.
Yeah, I'm not sure how NFT into Omi is gonna look, but I always imagined selling, maybe like a Pride for like a million Omi or something, like once that's available. So that's why I've always kind of focused more on the collectibles because I always considered that I would be able to sell that into Omi. I kind of saw it as the same thing.
How many do you have two prides still?
Two Prides, like Johnny Depp, unless he sold his.
I'm so jealous. Yeah, which I mean, the fact that they on that Vanity Fair article accidentally leaked that Rewind Collective is dropping another drop around the beginning of March. Did you see that?
Yes, I did. Yep.
Yeah. So I I'm wondering, and the fact that I think it came up with Alex and he corrected someone in the AMA and said, just like it's not Givenchy uh drop that's coming out, it's going to be Rewind Collective. So do you think that just makes it that more valuable now for Pride? Because yes, it's Rewind Collective, but it's also the only thing that came from LVMH Givenchy.
Yeah, most definitely. If we don't see another Givenchy product on Vivi, that's going to be, I think, something to look at.
I agree too. I'm a big fan of Pride. Like a lot of people have told me, they're like, well, why are you trying to pump Pride if you only have one? I'm like, the fact that I only have one doesn't then tell you I'm not trying to pump it. I'm trying to tell people like, hey, if there's a dip, which we're in a dip, I would make sure that that's one of the collectibles that you have as a long hold, especially when David Yu himself is the one who's spoken about that collectible in the 6 year partnership for a long time now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's all, we can't, yeah, you can't really, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but people always think we're trying to pump stuff when we talk about it. I mean, we cover Vivi content. We're going to talk about Vivi collectibles, and hey, we might own a few. So, like, what can you do?
So I mean, we're always talking about like bullish things, and I do want to kind of get your point or your thought on this too, because I think it's good to address some of the negativity that's been brought up too, because there's been a lot of frustration with obviously bots and suspended accounts, and I've seen a lot more chatter around the fact that like, hey, okay, yes, Veve NFTs are NFTs, but they're not yours, or you don't have full control around them, right? So I've tried to explain to people like, yes, there is a difference between decentralized NFTs and centralized NFTs, but what are your thoughts on that, right? Like, when you break it down, Veve really is a gated or a centralized NFT platform. And how do you think that's going to stack now that we keep rolling out? We're going to be eventually the Veveverse, and we're going to be in Immutable X marketplace eventually. So I guess, how do you think about that being someone who's other NFTs that are decentralized?
Well, you got to look at what Veve is doing. They got the biggest brands the world has to offer, right? And I think that I think when you're handling such IPs, I think a little bit of centralization is kind of wanted. If there is, what I'm saying, like they're starting off. They're still early, so I think they might become decentralized as we go on. But at the moment, I think we need this. I think we need centralization. We've seen what OpenSea has had problems recently, and yeah, I think people can't see it right now, but this is what we want. I think we kind of want a little bit of centralization. We got Disney and Marvel. We kind of don't want to mess that up.
That's a good point. And so, I mean, the question is if we didn't have this, how far along would we be with all the brands and licensors, right? Like, it's almost like if you're a massive brand licensor, and we're seeing more and more who are jumping in, right? Like Coca-Cola started with Decentraland, and a couple of them did, jump all the way in the deep end of the pool. But if you're a brand or licensor and you don't understand NFTs or how to really get into it, it's really easy to kind of dip your toes in the water with a centralized platform where you do have a little bit more control. And I also think, like, I've seen, you look at what happened with OpenSea, which you just brought up, like how many people, not just with OpenSea, but other decentralized marketplaces, are getting completely scammed through multiple different things. And when you lose your NFT, you lose your NFTs, right? Like, some people have lost millions of dollars, millions and millions of dollars because of that decentralized format. So like, if you get scammed out of Veve, there's always a chance. And I've seen people who've been able to get collectibles back, right? So that is like and I'm a decentralized bro. Like,
Yeah,
I don't want people's fingers in my money. I'm like, I don't keep much in the bank. It's mostly
same.
in investments in crypto and stocks. So, but I look at like both sides of the fence, and I think, if Veve had started like Decentraland and Sandbox and all that, like how much further back would we be if we didn't have that kind of centralization for bigger brands to just jump in?
Exactly. So let's say, Marvel and Disney said, okay, you could be decentralized, but we're not coming over. I wonder how many of the community would pick centralization or Disney. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yep.
if we can have Disney and Marvel, but we got to be centralized, or we can be completely decentralized, but we don't have these big brands. Like, which one do you want? I think Vivi's doing something totally different here. And, coming from the crypto side, yeah, we like decentralization. We want to hold our own assets and make them interoperable. But I think we need to see the bigger picture, and sometimes a little centralization is needed, at least to start.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And that's also one thing I think about too, is just there are so many people whose first NFTs have been on Veve, right? And there are so many people who it was their first NFTs on Veve, and they still don't own other NFTs because it's such an easy thing to grasp and to get, and it's fun every single week, multiple times a week. And the community is, obviously bigger than most other NFT project communities, and it continues to grow versus kind of spiraling out. Like, the risk factor for collecting Veve NFTs is super, super low compared to others. So I think about constantly how we have new people hopping in. Like, when I'm streaming these drops, I see more and more people saying like, "Oh, I just got my first Veve NFT." I'm like, "Man, like, you just started. Like, this is or they just started a month ago, and like they just nailed one."
Yeah.
So I'm always thinking about like the new users. We're constantly adding more to the fam. And so, as someone who's been around so long and like has been studying Veve collectibles as long as you have for like the past year, uh, what are some, I guess, tips and strategies that you think, if I'm a new user today, what should I be looking to do at these current prices to really build up my portfolio, whether I'm collecting sets or to flip?
Yeah, where to start? So first off, I think you want to definitely focus on first appearances of major characters and focus on big brands. So Marvel and Disney comes to mind. Those are the biggest brands on the app so far. You kind of want to just start off with those. Batman, Jokers, big brand characters that have stood the test of time. Um, like if you start off with decon items and you're looking for a profit, I think you might be disappointed because they're kind of still growing. They're not really well known, so it's more speculative. But when you mess with Superman, you can walk down the street and almost 100% of the people are going to know Superman. So
Mhm.
stuff like that. Um, don't chase. Don't chase like today, Black Panther. Tess is laughing. Uh, yeah, don't chase items like right after the drop. That's when they're most high. That's when they're most hyped up. Everybody's eyes on the new drop. So what you want to do during those periods is look elsewhere. Like what aren't people talking about? What have people forgotten? If you look at like cherry charts or Ecomi Wiki, you can see the patterns and see what's been the all time high and what the price is now, and you can see like Steamboat Mickey Common touched the high of like 1K. It's 5K now. So if you invest now and wait, you're gonna make $500 profit over a couple of months maybe or a couple of weeks. Who knows? Stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I think that's really smart. That's the hardest part, right? Is especially when you naturally FOMO in, especially when it's like a big character that you love. Like when I see Black Panther doing flips in the air, I'm just like, oh, I need that. Like, and I have a lot of gems right now. So what's 550 gems? And it's like if I just waited, I could have got it for 450.
Yeah,
But
man.
yeah, it's I think not FOMOing is a key piece there, especially like since we see a lot of the time, if you just wait an hour or two, the price will consolidate, right? Because it's gone the old days where it was like just get to the market. If you missed, grab one and hold on for dear life because you know it's going to rally and stay up there. Now it's more like people expect it. So they'll list high, it'll consolidate down, and then it may go back up or it'll stay down depending on the collectible. So I think that's a key piece.
Yeah, one more I think I would say is pay attention to the market cycles. We see the same cycles every season, every month. February has been very enlightening for a lot of people because a month prior, people FOMOed into so many objects. I bought some lenticular cards when I could have just waited and saved like maybe $500 combined. Whenever there's a big drop, there's going to be a gem squeeze, meaning people selling off their items to squeeze as many gems out of them as they can for that drop. So during those jump squeezes, that's when the players who know the game, that's when they come in and swoop up the sales. You can always come back to certain items. If it's like a Walt Disney and Mickey, maybe not. But other than that, you can always come back to the items.
I got so much crap for selling my secret rare Goofy when on drop day, and I did sell it cheaper than I needed to, but I was trying to make other moves and to stack up liquidity, and I sold it for like 3K or 3.1K or whatever. And everyone's like, "Oh, it's never going to touch back there." I was like, I think it will drop below that." And then I saw it for like 2.3K the other day, and yeah, and I'm a big fan of the particular cards and have added quite a few, but
Yeah.
it that's exactly what I've tried to say is like if it's not a grail or if it's not like a distinguished like this is a blue chip from the mass community, then you can always sell it high, stack your liquidity, and then this is the time where it's like, okay, I've learned if I don't have a solid amount of gems going into the next big drop or next couple big drops, then I don't have the funds to stack up things while it's down. And yeah, this has been a much more fun gem squeeze because of those moves. And
Yeah.
completing some sets that I did sell off at highs for like half the price made me a happy camper. You can always
Yes.
rebuy them. Don't forget that. You just have to know when. And I'm curious, like, do you think the gem squeeze is over? I mean, we obviously just got the another James Bond.
I know, right?
But what I mean, do you think we're gonna shake out of it now that Black Panther hit, or do you think there's more blood in the water?
Yeah, it all depends on what's announced in the next weeks, right? So we know Miles Morales isn't coming. I think we got confirmation of that. So in light of that news, I think the market is kind of bouncing back a little bit, but it depends on what the first week of March is, right? If we get a decent rewind collective, I think we can head right back down a little bit, or
Yep.
I think we can get some new verticals. It's always new verticals on the horizon. We got cars that haven't been dropped yet. The Citroen cars. I mean, there's so much. There can be So any given announcement, David Yu, he's got stuff cooking up his sleeve and stuff. Crazy thing. I don't know. So to answer your question, um, I don't know. It's just like it's hard to say. I can't answer that.
I feel like first of all, I love the fact that I see Veve in all three of your eyes right now, and it just warms my heart. Um,
Oh yes.
one, I feel like I know the answer, but which vertical are you most excited for?
Vertical?
Yeah,
Uh,
that we haven't
uh
seen yet.
I mean, I don't know. I don't. I mean, video gaming. I guess if that's a vertical.
I thought it was either going to be sports or straight up anime, just with the shotgun gun.
Oh yeah, is anime a vertical, or is that just like a
Yeah,
different IP?
no,
Okay, yeah.
it's straight up vertical. They've mentioned like music, sports, automobiles, or just vehicles,
Hmm.
anime. They've mentioned something before that was like celebrity esque. So I don't know. I think like the first thing we really saw was the likeness to Keanu Reeves in
Minor poster.
yeah, in the poster. So I don't. I think there's a lot of verticals that really haven't been touched on in a while, but they did list like seven other verticals back in the day. So I
Okay.
like anime is the one that I'm just clamoring for, but I'm always
Yeah.
curious like what is like the one that everyone wants the most.
I mean, you already know that. Are we gonna say it on this? You talking about Pokemon?
I mean, I wasn't gonna say it.
It was a little awkward pause, so I had to say it.
What and actually this goes to a really good question. So thank you for the question, Recovery. What collectibles does Gale think are seriously undervalued right now? So I actually had that question listed out because right now, like there's a little bit of rebound in the market, but what do you think is still undervalued right now that is at a good buy price?
Well, I can. I mean, it's easy. I can name almost any collectible at this point, but the lenticular cards for sure.
All of
Let's
them,
see.
or like the Secret Rare or Donald?
I mean, Goofy for sure. I never thought Goofy was going to touch 1.9 to 2.1. So Goofy, if you think he's worth it. But yeah, basically all the lenticular cards. Steamboat Mickey for sure. And then I think the comic exclusive BB exclusive covers are being slept on. I'm not sure how they're going to perform, but it's basically artwork that you can only get on Vivi of your favorite heroes, and it's a Vivi exclusive. And if Vivi might even give them a VE tag, a Vivi exclusive tag. Who knows? So I think those are very, I think those are sleepers right now. And plus the master collector points, if you're into that, you know, ultra rares and rares are the only exclusive covers.
Yep.
So
So that's the piece I'm really curious on because I've heard you talk about it, I've seen in your video, and I've heard mixed things, right? Because if you're from the comic side, you look at that and you think about the fact that okay, this is exclusive to Vivi. So because we're usually buying the value of these comics based on the physical clout, right? And sometimes the scarcity, right? Like Spider-Man 252 surprised the crap out of all the comic guys because they're like, this is a crap comic. There's no way it's going to absolutely moon. And then it did because of whale games and all the fun scarcity. So I'm a little bit torn, right? Like if I get the value in the fact that these are Vivi exclusive comic covers, right? So they're the first or they're exclusive to Vivi, right? So there's a lot of value in that. Like we think about tying that back to like Todd, how that's the first Veve NFT. But if we establish most of our value based on the value of the physical comics, then wouldn't that trump the Veve exclusive comic covers?
well, you said it yourself. You mentioned Spider-Man issue 252. So there's real world value, and then there's VV value. So depending on the success of VV, um, it could drive people towards those exclusive covers. And depending on how we can view them in the showroom, I think that could also play a factor. I think some of the VV exclusive covers are like some of the most beautiful pieces of comic covers on the app right now. But yeah, I guess time will tell. I don't know. I think like perspectives are shifting. What BB did with Spider-Man 252 was kind of special. They made a not popular comic, one of the most expensive commons on the app. And I think they can change a lot of people's ideas of what's valuable.
That's a good point. Like I agree that most of the time, I'd say probably 70% of the time, the Veve created exclusive covers look a little bit cleaner than some of the older ones, unless it's like, one of the Grail comics. You can only can hate on the fact that it's like a Grail and like that is the actual cover.
Yeah.
But one thing I think does change that, and it just hit my brain now, is the fact that they did say yet again that we will be able to display them. The question I have is, will we only be able to display them in display cases? Probably not. We'll probably be able to blow them up. So you think about the Vaultaholics and how they turn floors and walls and certain pieces of collectibles into new forms and new art. And so if you have like one of the coolest covers to date that I love is the Thanos with the gauntlet and
Yeah.
like all the gems on it. And I think about how cool that would look on like the wall of my showroom and not just in a display case. And so you think about, okay, well, how many of those will be available for the Vaultaholics and people to create things? And that alone will drive up scarcity of some of these cooler looking comics. And so that's a good point that you bring up, the fact that like, okay, like these are exclusive to Veve and it could be another 252 situation.
Yeah.
And then I'm curious too, because I think you like to stack up like quite a few things, right? Like you're not like just like a grab 2 or 3, but you stack up a few things while it's down and then you sell when it's up. So do you usually find better value in stacking up collectibles, like maybe like a Marvel Mighty, or do you usually like to stack up a bunch of comics while they're lower price and then sell them at a high?
That's a good question. Well, it would depend on the item that you're talking about. So like I bought I think 3 Todd's retail. I have 2 left now, but
Agree?
yeah, retail. And I got 2 left now. So those 2 I think right now are worth what, 14,000 combined about, if they're still 7.6 or whatever each. But in terms of comics, I was wise enough to stack like 40 Fantastic Four issue number ones back when they were like $2 to like $14. So I think those are like over $100 now. So that's been one of my most profitable stacks. I know there's people with hundreds and thousands, but still, for me, that was a huge stack.
Yeah, I think that was what a lot of people I've heard. Oh, man, I've heard a few people. I think like Silicon Secured, a few other people like stacked up tons of comics. And anytime they're like, oh, I need gems, they'll just go ahead and sell off some of that massive stack. Because yeah, I remember back then, like when the initial comics dropped, I think I had nailed, 12 or 14 on drop. And then people were stacking the secondary because everyone was selling them cheap. Like they were $7, but people were selling for $4, $3. And those who had the Gale 3-eye vision were just stacking hundreds and hundreds. So anytime that they need gems now, whether the market's up or down, they're like, okay, I'll just sell another common Marvel comic number 1 and grab a couple $100. I'll sell 5, 10, and they're sitting on hundreds. And it's that stacking methodology that I think is going to translate further down the line. Again, I think people are constantly sleeping on Marvel Mighties. And you look at like you're talking about how the Veve comic covers are exclusive to Veve. Look at the Mighties, right? We've already seen them, that format used in games and other things. There has to be something there in my mind, and that's why I do like stacking Marvel Mighties that are cheap, because what happens if a game is announced in the future? What happens if there's just animation turned on with all of them, right? Like they also look a little bit kind of tied to Ritmo and my like the square legs or whatever. Like I just think they have that kind of playability to them.
Yeah, yeah. I think the Mighties are some of the most stackable items currently. I think stacking is getting much harder these days. $1,000 could have took you a long way back in the day, but now it's like you can't get, I don't know, can't get the cheapest item for 1,000 almost. But yeah, man, those first comics were some of the best opportunities on Veve. Little did we know. I wish I had more foresight back then. Third Eye Night Blood. Yeah, man. But yeah, I wish I had more foresight.
Same. I mean,
Like
that's
those $2. Go ahead.
I was gonna say that's maybe you need to get some 4-eye glasses so you have further foresight, even further.
Yeah, I'm gonna need it for the Veveverse, man. 4 dimensions.
What's this is a good question from Brendan Z. Shout out to Brendan Z. What are the biggest stacks you two have?
I just named one, which was the Fantastic Four issue #1. Common. I got 40 of those, and I got like 21 Marvel Comics ones, which touched like 500 like a few months ago. So those will be a big stack in the future.
Yeah, I'm not going to say what my biggest stack is because I've been stacking purposely quietly.
Ah,
But one stack that I do have that's getting pretty good size is just Captain America's commons. I think when it comes to the mass explosion of users that we'll have, regardless of localization causing it, Veveverse causing it, everything causing it, when you look at the price to value and what people really want to collect, I think about superheroes and I think about how that is one of the best looking static superheroes.
yeah.
And it's so cheap still, right? It's under $100. So whenever I can, if it's low hundreds or below 100, I add a few more when I can. So I think that's an easy one to stack, as well as some of the mighties. But yeah, like you said, it's not cheap to stack anymore. So good question that goes into one of my questions. Saskia asks, what are your guys thinks? What are your thoughts on the Veveverse, whether it's coming this year or not? But one of the questions that I had is, we have all the catalysts in front of us, right? And of course, there's delays. There's a ton of different plates spinning in the air right now. But by majority, everything that we're looking forward to most, exchanges, OMI utility, Veveverse, MCP, new verticals, has all been kind of pushed out. So what are you looking forward to the most for this year? And then we'll get to the Veveverse question.
Uh, Definitely cash out. Cash out options. That'll make onboarding people a lot easier. If they knew that we can cash out, they would easily come on board with what we have already, and then it would make current investors more invested. People are hesitant in putting more money in because they just waiting. They're just waiting to see that they can take it out so they can go ham hard as a mother.
Yeah, and I'm always curious because I like how you worded that, right? Because you're not like cash out because I'm sitting on $600,000 worth of gems and just trying to get my bag and go. It's you're using that 3-eye foresight to really think, all right, like this is a hesitancy of people who are currently in, because people have stacked up a lot of money in the app, and also people have thrown a lot of money in the app, and so a lot of that hesitation to go further in is like, well, MTL was supposed to be here a while back. It's still not here. I can't really justify it more until this happens. But also the fact of people who are sitting on the sidelines, I still have friends this day where I'm like, guys, I'm sitting on 6-figure investment in this app with very little investment going into it, and they're kind of like, well, can you pull it out today? I'm like, no, but I'm sitting on it and it's there. And like that is one of those pieces where the competition are even throwing a lot of dirt at us now because you still can't do it, right? So I'm sure, to your point, that there's that many people who are still sitting on the sidelines who are saying, until I can cash out, I'm not really jumping in.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. It's been a blessing. It's accumulation phase for us who have belief and stuff. But still, you kind of want progression too, and it's about time.
Do you think, with the way that they're rolling out, we're going into now, I think, our third beta group for MTL for cashing out. Do you think it'll be a whole bunch of months, or until we really have like full access to all the users?
You got a little muffled. What was the question again?
Do you think it'll be multiple months before everyone has access to cash out, or do you think, oh, we got the kitty?
T'Challa. His name's actually T'Challa.
It's what? Sorry, it's.
Oh, I'm sorry, T'Challa.
Is it really?
Yeah, we adopted him. His name was T'Challa before we got him.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I do think it'll be. Yeah, it might be a couple more months because they said they're doing a slow rollout, right? So I think they want to get it right. We're talking about people's monies. We're talking about millions of dollars for some people, 6 figures. So like I'm fine with them taking their time as long as it means they're getting it right. because we don't want that to mess up. There's going to be we don't want to see that happen.
Yeah, I agree. And for me, I mean, it's like, I want it to happen just so people are happier, right? Because it's
Yeah.
been one of those things that people have complained about it for so long and are very angry about it. And I get it. Like, there's people who went in with the expectations, like, all right, I'll be able to get my money out maybe in 3 months, 6 months, like less than a year, and they're still not. So there's some people who are trying to pay bills or have things come up and they're having to go off app. So I get it, but I'm more excited just for this to eventually just not be like an excuse anymore for people to not jump in, as well as the competition to really throw hate at us. Although I'm sure there'll be new hate that'll be created come that day, which Matthew brings up a good point. Like, aren't you guys surprised how many unhinged people we have been exposed to? Like, they claim YouTube personalities get drops gifted to them. They think Veve lies. They see bots everywhere, are upset about everything. And I think that's a good point. Like, people, and I think also, like, how do you get people into other projects, or how do you if you've been burned, either you bought things too high and now you sold at a loss, or you went heavy in and now you're just like, I can't get my money out, so I'm having to sell at a discounted gem rate. Like, how do you get more people in the corner? And you can see people will hop on my channel, hop on your channel, and they instantly hit the dislike button right away. I'm like, who are these people? It's those people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, was that a question? How you get people into other projects?
I guess he's bringing up, like, how many people are, I think, like, we're exposed to based off all this negativity and like delays.
Well, I'm not surprised. I mean, in terms of VV, people aren't used to being this early to a possibly potentially life-changing opportunity. And when you're this early, you got to wait for things to develop. You got to wait for, in this case, money transmitter license. You got to wait for interoperability. You got to wait for, all these things to develop. You can come in late when the app is fully working, but the opportunity that we have right now will be lost. You pick your poison.
I think it's different too. Like, when I look at Veve, I still think of us like, if it's a company, it's pre-IPO,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if you could invest in, insert huge life-changing technology here, company, before it went IPO, of course you would have, right? Whether it's Microsoft or Apple or even like a more nascent technology in like IT or whatever, like, you would have taken advantage of getting in before it IPO'd if you had the option. Or even if you look at like a cryptocurrency, if you get into a private sale and you have to hold it for a year or however long it takes before you can start selling off, you would have done so. But people don't have that kind of foresight to really think of Veve in that way, right? They're just thinking, all right, like, I put money in, I should be able to cash out. People who jumped in like November, December, they're like, where's my money, right?
Yeah.
And think about how this is the time while we're at these prices before the whole world really gets it, and there is no longer, I can't get money out. Now it's like, okay, I can get money out all the live long day and make a side hustle off this because having that access. So I think a lot of people are really not seeing the big picture, and that's really what it bakes down to.
Yeah, people often say this is just investment, a good investment advice, period. Don't invest more than you can afford, and especially with Vivi because you can't cash out. So you
Yep.
should have known that coming in because you should have did your due diligence, that knowing that you couldn't cash out. So whatever you invest, don't plan to take it out until who knows, expect a year, whatever.
What's due diligence? I just watch YouTube and looking for things that are going to the moon.
Oh man, due diligence. Well, first off, that's reading the white paper. That's how you mean this. How you, you gonna let me explain it? But there's
I
some
was just
people
trying
that
to troll you.
there's
That
some
was
people
one
that
of the
do.
first things I did with Veve and OMI. Like, before, like, I watched Blockchain Andy talk about it, and I didn't just like jump in. I was like, all right, I need to read this project, right? And then I liked the burn mechanism. I liked the tokenomics, and I actually, I'm pretty positive I bought OMI before I hopped in the app, but I did hop in the app. And a big thing with MTL too is like the KYC side, and they've said, like, we didn't want to do KYC off the bat because it would have been a deterrent. And 100%, had that been a thing, like, I
Yeah,
didn't have a Binance for, I want to say, like 8 or 9 months after I saw the KYC. So I just went on crypto.com and started using other exchanges or something else. I already had crypto.com before I went to Binance, but that is 100% a deterrent. Like if they had that, I would have not jumped in on February 19th, a year ago, and had the chance to, buy Reso and buy all these other things back in that day, had that been a thing. So I think about like those early days and like doing due diligence.
And think about this: had we had cash out back then, Veve might not even be a thing today. People would have took their money and ran. But since
Or,
they forced us to hold, like we're forced to hold our collectibles, so we saw the potential of them. So, you never know.
I was talking about this the other day. The fact that we had like Spider-Man hit 100K before it came back down, and we had, Todd's that were up to 14K. If we had the ability to cash out months and months ago, I don't think we would have ever seen those evaluations for much longer. Not that they're not worth it, but we wouldn't have probably seen those highs if everyone could have cashed out so soon. So now that that bar has been set so early in the platform, it's reachable, right?
Yeah.
And I think that them rolling out in phases is going to be the smarter move long term.
Yeah. I mentioned that before. People can't see it now, but I think everything that's happening as it's happening, we're going to be thankful that it happened this way. So we'll see.
Yep, 100%. Let's look at a few. I want to get into Veveverse. I'm really curious, like what the 3-eye view is on it, because there's so many different layers, and people always talk about like the different stages. But before we do, a couple of different questions in here. Show Me says, will layer 1 OMI be an option to buy within Veve or strictly layer 2? So just so you know, Show Me the OMI. I think it's strictly layer 2 because it's tied to the Veve app. So layer 1 OMI is exclusive to exchanges. If you want to sell it, and of course, we're still going through migration with OKX and Gate.io. Layer 1 OMI is exclusive for exchanges. Layer 2 is going to be used in the Veve app for staking, rewards, and most likely in probably the Veveverse as well, but that could change. Today's standard, that's what it is. What are some good Discords to be a part of for a great community experience, and also info on off app gen and collectible buying? Do you have your own Discord?
I do not. I haven't made one yet.
Same. I think I know Kyle Wilson has a good Discord. I know there's some paid ones as well. I don't really hate on paid groups. I probably should have created one a long time ago before everyone did, and I just got busy, making content and doing everything else. So I know there's a few paid ones that are really good as well. And I think just put it out there on Twitter. Like Twitter is where I get a lot of communication, and like start your own group, right? Like if you're kind of like, hey, I'm looking for a good central group, you could always start your own, right? Get some like-minded people, mention what you want to talk about, create it. And then I'm sure you can kind of get people going, especially if it's a group that's tied to some collectibles that you already have. We're seeing a lot of like mini groups. Stay away from the pump groups. There's a bunch of those as well, but you never know.
And let me suggest Twitter Spaces. You said a great community experience. You're going to find that in Twitter Spaces. You're going to get the information that you're looking for in Discords in there.
I completely agree. For the longest time, like I only created a Twitter back in the day because everyone was like straight up badgering me. They're like, hey, you're not on Twitter, right? I'm like, no, I don't understand Twitter. They're like, you need to get on Twitter. That's where our community lives and breathes. And finally, like enough harassment, I was like, all right, I'll create one. And now I'm on it like every single day. And I didn't get Twitter Spaces at all. I was like, all right, like, why would I hop on Twitter to talk if I can hop in someone's live stream? Like it didn't get it. And then I started hopping in more and more. And it's actually like, since I got back from vacation, I haven't been in one, but for multiple months now, hopping in those Twitter Spaces, you get gems, like whether it's the back of the class or, blockchain Rick James, when he hops in, like you get so many gems and most aren't recorded. And so if you're not there, you just miss it. And like, that's the fleeting effect of it. And that's why I think, I love hopping in Twitter Spaces when I can, because you get so many different strategies and point of views hopping in and goofing around too. I love when I love back in the class when you just have emoji yelling up, throwing up hundreds.
Hundreds, yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to emoji and everybody.
I love it. I love it. Like that's some of the best alpha that you'll get. And then it's like, all right, it's gone. Like hopefully you were there or you weren't.
Shout out to chatting Tuesdays with Orange Bag Lady too on Tuesdays.
Yes, sir. Did you hop in when she was spinning?
Yes, I did on our YouTube channel. Yeah, I think that was her mom though.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was her and her mom.
Yeah, that was crazy.
I wish my mom was that cool.
Right? But mine
Uh,
is. But yeah.
all right, we've got a few more in here, but so I'm curious because I ask a few people this, and I usually like to ask this of people who've been around for a long time because we were supposed to have the Veveverse in 2021. Everything got kind of delayed, and I think a lot of that happened because of Immutable X, which we're now migrated to, thankfully.
Mm-hmm.
So we know, or they've said that Veveverse is coming in 2022, and I do think that is going to be the case. But we know that it's going to be rolled out in stages. So, what do you think stage one of the Veveverse looks like? When do you think we'll be seeing it? And then, how many stages to the Veveverse do you think we'll be seeing before we have, whatever the metaverse looks like for Veveverse?
So stage one, I think Dan kind of gave us a hint at what that would look like. I think it's going to be like an extension of our showroom, which might evolve into our VV house type deal where we can have more rooms to access and explore and to decorate and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, I think that's going to be the VVverse part one. And then as we expand, we might be able to travel to other showrooms without leaving the showroom. And then we might be able to might be able to travel via one of the vehicles that we have, or just like floating avatars flying or walking. I don't know what it's going to look like, but yeah. And then I think we're going to have I think version 2 might be like different worlds, right? So
Mhm.
back in the day, we saw this Jurassic Park portal type door. You remember that door we seen earlier back in like April?
That was back when David, you trolled us with the T Rex in his house knocking over bear bricks.
Yeah, but they also showed us a door. Do you remember
Yep.
that door, the park door? So yeah, I thought that might have been a portal where you can probably go to Jurassic World or like a Jurassic Park world. We might have Tokidoki Land. We might have like Ron English's Delusionville. I think he even hinted at that, and it might be under the VVverse. So there might be like a layer of the VVverse, and then there might be like a totally underground section where all types of things go on and stuff, and then you might have Disneyland, obviously. Yeah, different worlds and stuff like that. What about you? What do you think about that?
So I agree with a bunch of that, but I'm actually curious because you're the first one who's brought up different layers to the viewers, right? So I think about how there's different worlds, how, you could use maybe once Jurassic Park eventually comes, which I want it like yesterday. Whenever we get that Jurassic Park Jeep, like that could be what you need to go through the gate, right? And like I think that's one thing that they've said is people. I remember when DeLoreans and common DeLoreans were like $34 each, and I grabbed a few. I didn't stack them like I should have, but and I still have those few. And like now they've gone up because when I heard Dan say you'll be able to race them, I knew eventually that would be the case, right? So now
Hmm.
I look at pretty much every vehicle as I'll be able to race that, right? So I was like, the
Yep.
motorcycle's dope. I'm gonna grab a few. Um, and I think about that gate, and I think about how Jurassic Park will come, and how it's gonna everyone's gonna go nuts for it. But I think people will sleep on that Jeep
Yeah.
and that portal in order to maybe go through some to get to some of those worlds. I think it makes sense that you would need some collectible or you would need some kind of vehicle for some of them, especially if it's tied to whatever that portal or that entry to that world is. So having that Jeep might be your entrance into or through the Jurassic Park gates.
I like that idea. I think NFTs will be keys in the future, and not only to the VVverse, but like to events. I think somebody talked about this before, but you might need a tie to get into a exclusive Batman signing with whoever or whatever. You might need a Marvel Mighty to get into I don't know, some kind of store to participate in the drop. I think having certain NFTs will give you access, like you said. Yeah.
You might need the entire Mermicorno season set in order to actually qualify for Master Collector Program. No, I'm kidding.
Go out and buy. Hurry up and buy.
I love those stupid things. I know like they don't hold value, but I still hold my sets on them just because I don't know why. It's like this weird thing where everyone has like a weird set that no one else really likes.
Oh
But I
yeah,
like my Mermicornos.
yeah. I got all the Member corners too.
Yep. But so sorry, I got off topic because of the portal thing. But I like what you said about the layers, and you
Hmm.
said Delusionville with Ron English. So like I think about how there's different worlds, but you're
Yeah.
saying maybe there's different layers to like, okay, like there's the big brands, like you go to Disney World and Veveverse, you can go, but maybe there's another layer underneath it where there's different artists who build out their own thing. And
Yes.
I mean, to me, that makes more sense. Like Veve is centralized with our NFTs and the brands and all that, but the artists are not centralized. If you look at Ron English, if you look at Frank Kozik, you look at all their OpenSea NFTs and what they're building out, they're embracing decentralized as an extra layer to the centralization. So maybe they're able to build their own little worlds with Veve's help, and like that's part of the Veveverse, and also maybe their own thing.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense too. Like, Ron English is kind of underground in terms of not being mainstream or super. He's kind of mainstream, but he's not super mainstream like Disney. So yeah, it makes sense for him to be under the BBverse where he can create and do all kinds of crazy things. And then maybe Jermaine Rogers is like down the block with his rabbits and raccoons attacking each other. Yeah, you never know.
I love it. That's so yeah. I've spoken with a few different content creators about what their thoughts are, but you're the first one to bring up different layers, especially like tied to the artist side. So I think that's a pretty good thought there. We're gonna get to some questions, but before we do, a last like main question that I have for you is, what are some bullish things that you think the fam aren't really considering? And I know it's hard to really think of because there's so much speculation, so much excitement we're always thinking about. But what are some bullish things that you think we're not considering that could happen? And then what are some potential downsides that you think maybe we're not considering as we continue throughout this year?
Um, I think just in general, like just the word of mouth, things are happening in the background, whether we see it or not. People are talking to each other. We don't know Wakanda forever. We don't know what kind of celebrities are in talks right now. We don't know who's talking to who. We might even have some IP that we don't even that the team hasn't even hinted at. I think I think there's just so much going on that we have no idea, and we're not even. I don't. That's a hard question, but yeah, just I think everything is working towards BB going viral. We just can't see it all. Maybe we just don't see it all happening.
So
You
when you
know?
say Vivi going viral, I mean, do you mean them broadening out social aspects in the app, or you mean like we're not even close to mainstream yet, and like us getting more and more publications, more awareness in the broader NFT and like mainstream, like that side, or a little bit of both?
Yeah, I just mean like yeah. In terms of just going viral like a TikTok video or something. We're just one catalyst away, one celebrity away, one crazy NFT drop away from somebody saying, "What is that? Where can you find that?" And everybody's just like, "Download the VV app," and it just gets out of hand.
Man, if I can't remember who said it first, but and I try not to bring it up too often because it's always in the back of my mind, and I hate the fact that it is. But if Elon Musk decided
Oh,
to troll his way into crypto with Doge, and I'm not a Doge hater, but he did just troll into it and then made it what it was. If he could do that with a cryptocurrency, like what could he do with an NFT, or what could other notable figures choose to do similar things? And if you're going to choose something, wouldn't it make sense to choose something that is already kind of like massive community that can make it like we would jump on that instantly?
yeah. Yeah, you just gave me an idea. We need to spam Elon's Twitter with Jake the dog pictures in augmented reality. He's the closest thing that looks like the Doge dog, and then just make him know about Vivi.
Yo, I brought that up like months and months ago, and then it kind of fizzled out. But I think we need to bring it back.
Yeah,
I think we're there again, where we just need to start doing some really annoying outreach.
Operation Spam Elon, and get that going.
Spam Elon. We got a whole bunch of A gang in here. All the eggs.
that's oh man, I'm forgetting. I'm blanking on his name now.
Randy.
Ah, who?
Randy.
No, no. Let me see it in the chat if I can find Dino Lang. Shout out to
Dino
Dino.
Lang.
That's him in his A gang. He's rating you.
Getting egged. Um, yeah, man. So let's get to a few of the comments because, or actually, no. One thing I did have. So what's a weakness that you see, or like what's like a downside that you think could happen with VV over the next couple months?
Hmm. Um, man, I should have gave this some thought. Hard to say. Maybe like one of the team members leaving or something. I can't. It's hard to think of a downside. Maybe David Yu sells all his collectibles. That would be like, I don't know. But do you have any? I should. I couldn't think of any.
I
Maybe.
mean,
Yeah.
I think the likelihood that David Yu sells any of his collectibles is probably pretty low. Like if you look at how he's like stored collectibles in his
Yeah.
house, and
Emphasis on
now he has
stored.
like a phone to just
Yeah.
hold whatever he has. And then also you look at his success. I mean, if you look at his freaking house and then also how many companies he has, how successful the guy's not hurting for a dime, right? He's
Yeah.
not trying to flip something to make $1,000. He's holding to preserve his immortalized company Veve and probably stack up as many collectibles as he wants to hold as possible. So I don't think that'll be it. Interesting point with like someone leaving Veve, because we heard, through the grapevine that Trevor left and he kind of did like an Irish exit, and we don't really know why, but it clearly didn't have like a big effect. But when you're saying like someone leaving, you mean like Reese piecing out, or like Dan piecing out, or something like that.
Or Alfred would be huge, but I don't see that happening. But just thinking.
I mean, what do you say? Like when you say him leaving, what do you mean?
Just disassociating with the company, or just like not like going somewhere else, going to quit maybe. Who knows?
What we're creating FUD right now. Gale's trying to stack up OMI, stack up collectibles. You heard it. Al Khan's leaving to quit. No.
Oh man. No, you heard what he said about quit. Let's not go there though.
Yo, I think him and I think Al Khan, Trevor originally, and Alex G are like the most savage when it comes to just laying out what their thoughts are when competition has thoughts. They're just like, this is shit, or like I was like, oh man. And I'm not trying to hate on Quid or Wax anymore. Like,
Yeah.
I think, like
It's
I
not
said,
hated.
I have Quid stickers, and like
Yeah.
I'm not trying to hate on them. I have
Yeah.
them, and
Yeah.
I have a bunch of Wax NFTs. I'm not going to sell them, but yeah, I think it's really funny when Al Khan just says some things. You're like, oh crap.
There's hate, and then there's telling the truth. So
Yep. We got non-fungible wonderful in the house. See Pineapple Gang,
Pineapple
everyone.
Gang. Let's go.
You did some NFTs with him, right? I saw the 3-eyed glasses pineapples.
Yeah, we got the Gale pineapple out there. Go get yours. Yeah, it's still some left.
We got Ecomi in that house. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Ecomi?
They heard you talking about Al Khan. They're like, hold on, we got to jump in here.
I know, right?
Thanks for hopping in here. All right, let's get to a few questions. If you have questions besides dropping eggs and pineapples, let us know what you have. We got the Gale here for a little bit. And so I'm always curious, I definitely consider myself like in the middle when it comes to like, I touch on collectibles, I touch on OMI, I touch on kind of all from like a business side too. But there are channels I think that lean a little bit more one way. And I think yours probably leans a little bit more collectible versus OMI. Would you say so too?
Definitely. Yep.
And so I'm curious, like what questions you guys have for the collectible side, or thoughts on, what's happening in the markets. Spam the Gale. Dino's after you, man.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Dino on his channel. He's another YouTuber, Veve YouTuber. Go check him out.
All right, Olivia, we're not going to tolerate this question. We don't support this. Rams is greater than Niners. Oh no, I mean when it counted. Yeah, get out of here. That's FUD. What? Lord of the Realm getting an anime tattoo while listening right now. Thanks for helping me out time.
That's crazy.
What anime are you getting? Are you getting Naruto right now?
I hope you think of us every time you look at that tattoo. It's cool to be a part of that experience. Nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think it'd be cool to like live stream someone getting. I'm not saying I'm going to. I'm saying whenever someone chooses to get a Veve tattoo, they live stream it. Which I think the first person would probably be Randy. I feel like he'd be the first one to get a Veve Ecomi tattoo or OMI tattoo, and then stream it with like a whole bunch of homies around and his Loki Gators riding around.
When I cash out my pride for $50,000+ I'll brand myself with Veve easily.
You said 50,000?
Something like that. Yeah, something like that.
So on the stream, we have the Gale saying when he cashes out one of his prides.
Yeah, one.
One of his prides at $50,000. He's going to get a Veve tattoo.
Easy.
Sold. All right, we got a question. Donald Golden Moments versus buying 2 to 3 lenticular cards. What are your thoughts?
First it depends on which lenticular cards, but Donald.
The
Oh,
Donald and Daisy Gold Moment.
yeah, I'm trying. I might lean the cards because they're part of a new vertical. They have music. A lot of those cards, they're the first time those characters have hit the blockchain. Um, just thinking of possible differentiators, but honestly, I can't see either being a bad investment. I probably lean lenticular cards though.
I would too. I think the aspect of like how they change the music and the fact that there just wasn't as much hype with like the OG set from Golden Moments, like because they had utility, because there was just so much to them. I think they're going to always have some of that clout. I like the Donald and Daisy Gold Moment, but I do think there's something to the cards that has
Yeah,
the fact that they're also the first OG of these kind of cards. We'll probably see more style of them, right? Like I feel like they didn't just develop them one and done, whether it's with Disney or with potentially other brands.
yeah.
So I do think, yeah, the cards are the win there. How long do you think this dip is going to last? I'm saving up for Golden Moments.
It could last until mid-March, depending on what's announced. I see a slight bounce back right now. I feel a little bit of FOMO, like I need to hop into a few collectibles before it bounces back, but any given announcement could send it right back down. So just pay attention to the market
I agree.
and community sentiment.
AI isn't going anywhere. He's only just
Al,
joined.
Al,
Or
Al
Al.
was,
I was like, AI, what? He's
what's
only just
CT?
joined.
What's CT?
CT. He's only just joined. I mean, he just joined Twitter.
Oh yeah, crypto Twitter. Okay, that's
The
probably
Twitter,
it.
that's it. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the fact, did you read his article that he came out with? And like, it was for him to come out and basically like, it sounds like Veve and what he's doing with Contagious is like, that's
Contagious,
his
yeah.
swan song, right? Like he could have just been done, retired, out. I mean, Miss Crane is a savage herself,
Oh yeah,
and he's not done. Like Veve is where he's parking his brand with Contagious,
yeah. That's
and yeah, he's fired up in his tweet today too. So I think we
woo.
are only starting to see the emergence of Mr. Khan into his
Yeah,
involvement
man.
with
This is
Veve.
yeah, this is his this is I forget what it's called, but yeah, this is his legacy. It's gonna be a good end to his legacy, I think.
Carl asks, "What do you guys think about the James Bond Aston Martin drop on Saturday?"
I think it's interesting. I'm not the hugest Bond fan, but I like seeing more cars being dropped on BB. Somebody's gonna love it. I'm curious. I hope I get one on a drop. But other than that, I think it's cool.
Yeah, same thing with like, again, I think there's going to be something to all vehicles in the Veveverse, so I'm going to grab it. I hope I get it on. They said there's going to be 2 different versions, so I'm curious. Like, we know it's going to be like that silver sleek one, but
Hmm.
I'm wondering if they're going to have another one that's like a different version of it in the drop, or if they're going to have like a different Aston Martin from a different Bond in it.
Oh,
Probably not, because I think with the license, it's probably tied specifically to this movie, considering everything else we've seen.
yeah.
But you never know.
I hope they do like that. Where the guns shoot out and it turns around. That would be awesome.
Yeah, it's just the one that like kills everyone around.
Yeah. Like, oh, you thought, yeah, with the bulletproof. Yep. Yep.
That's yeah, that would look dope. Dino asks, "Do I live in the Bay Area?" I do live in the Bay Area. Does Dino also live in the Bay Area? Are we trying to go grab some eggs? Um, let's see. Gale selling his glasses will be the end of Veve. Have you ever done a video with your glasses off?
I did a I no, actually I'm
Or
waiting for
done a
like the right
reveal?
I'm waiting for the right TapsTrades. I'm waiting for the right moment. I don't know what it's gonna be, but just waiting to see.
Oh man. Yeah, so I've never I kind of I don't have like dope glasses like yours, but I always got my man bun rocking, and I've wanted to cut it for a while now, but
Yeah.
I want to do like a stream eventually where we break all-time highs on OMI and I let my hair down long hair don't care. And unfortunately, that hasn't happened yet. So I'm just going to keep growing it until that happens. And when that does happen, I'm going to let it down. We're going to pop champagne. We're going to get after it. And then probably that week, I'm going to be cutting my hair back to a short professional cut, which I haven't cut my hair in like 2 years now.
2 years. You got to let it down.
Dude, it's like,
really?
Yeah, I just keep it clean on the side so my clients don't know that I'm a degenerate.
I'll hook you up with my dread guy.
So I let someone cornrow my hair once. It was during do you watch UFC?
Yeah.
It was during Masvidal fight, and they were like, "Dude, you look like Masvidal. Let my girlfriend cornrow your hair." And I was like, "Nah." And then they did, and I was like straight up like posing next to the TV with like had Masvidal on the TV and like had my cornrows, and they're like, "All right, you look ridiculous. We got to take him out."
You talking about the Usman fight when you fought Usman?
Yeah, it was. So he got rocked.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I love him as a fighter, but yeah, he got rocked. Which they've talked about sports in one of the verticals, and we know NFLPA. Hopefully, NFLPA is still coming, but they've talked about sports, right? I'm hopeful that we get like a bunch of different types of sports, and if they brought you, I know that UFC is already on like they have the partnership with Crypto.com and a couple other things, but if we got UFC NFTs,
yeah. What could it be, like 3D statues, just like likeness statues maybe,
or just animated, right? If I could have like a Sugar Sean just doing a spinning back fist to a Murmacorno.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I can see that. That's nice. He'd be the first one down. He's got a crypto cannabis toker. He'd be down for that. Yeah, he's got a toker.
I need to check him out. Crypto Twitter friends is what Ecomi was saying. Which, hey, thanks for being in here. Happy to have him in here. Shave the head and overgrow the beard. I would look mean, man. If I had a big beard and a shaved head, I would look just not nice. I don't want to look like I'm trying to scare everyone into buying collectibles.
Yeah. No comment.
All right, let's get to 1 or 2 more questions and then we'll wrap up here. Michael Lamb asks, do you think the NFTs on Veve should be shown in their full 3D in the pre-drop page before you can buy it instead of after? We don't see the full detail until after the drop. Retire the blue tablecloth.
Oh, interesting thought. It could go either way. You know, the curiosity could make you want to purchase, but then knowing what you're buying is a good thing too. Like you want to see the full product before you put your money into it. So that might not be a bad idea.
Yeah, I agree. Plus, also, like, think about how exciting it is when you, like they said out before, like how eventually maybe there could be some added with the blind boxes, how like you open it. But like you think about like opening something with like Top Shots, or when you open like a Cogs on wax, you have to like rip open the package. I think until we have some of that functionality, having that blue tablecloth is part of the buildup, right? And like not being able to actually see the collectible until drop time. Like we didn't know the back of some of the stamps and like Givenchy Pride until you really could see it, right? And that created some of the FOMO and the freak out in the secondary following. So I think that's one of the elements you don't want to lose.
Jermaine's what are they called again?
The chip?
Yeah, yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah, the chip and the veil.
The veil, yep.
How many veil does the Gale have?
I had one, then I sold it just to get some gems, but I'm gonna get one back. I got a Darrow.
Oh, you have a Darrow? Yeah. I only have the Panda veil, just because I was like, all right, I feel like once localization comes and we get all the APAC region in, they'll be like, oh, there's a Panda in here. I'm gonna buy that one. Like, dumb little speculation like that.
That's good speculation. That's outside of the box thinking that might get you paid.
All right. Let's get one more question and we'll wrap up here. Let's see. Let's pick a good one here. I did see UFC already launched NFTs similar to NBA Top Shots, but that doesn't mean that there's a one set and done, right? Like we saw how there's DC collectibles that are premium content in Veve, but now they're going to be on DC fandom, right? Like there's different styles. So there's some that are exclusive and some that are not. So that doesn't mean that we can't have UFC or other sports that are already out with other platforms come to Veve.
Right.
Let's see. What? All right, let's take this one. September 8th, 2022, start of NFL season. Are we going to see the first sport NFTs on Veve? Now, do you remember how much anticipation buildup there was for NFLPA when it came to the start of the NFL season this last September?
Yeah.
I guess, do you think we're going to be waiting a whole nother well through the summer into the next season before we see NFLPA? Or what's your thoughts on NFLPA? Do you think we still have it?
I don't see why we wouldn't. I think I remember Reese or somebody saying that it was supposed to come out last year, but something happened. So I think maybe definitely this year if we still have it, because we were supposed to get it last year, I think.
Yeah, and they were going to announce it. They said originally before summer. It's supposed to come, I think, back in May or June, and they said they were just going to wait through summer and then launch it in fall, which made sense with the football season. So yeah, I always weigh back and forth. Like, I don't think we can necessarily lose licenses. I just think maybe, some get put on the back end, and then it's like, all right, well, we have all these other licensors who are saying we need to get to them, or like they've already been waiting, X amount of years, and then we'll get to these ones. Or maybe they're just structuring it out to where, okay, we just had, all these Marvel drops. We just had all these Disney drops. We're going to wait for the sports vertical to come together once we get through all the Marvel Disney content, and then we'll go into the vertical collectively. So we have NFLPA, and then we have UFC, and then we have underwater basket weaving right here, and all these other sports kind of jump together versus we get to that side.
Is that a thing?
No, it's just,
I was like, link
right now.
I was like, link me to the channel, man. Link me to the YouTube.
It's on the Ocho. That's where you get all the obscure sports like dodgeball. All right. Well, we went through a lot. I appreciate you taking time. I did include where to find, the Gale. Make sure you subscribe to his channel. I again, love your content. Love the vibe you always put out. It's always a positive vibe. Make sure you follow him on Twitter so you stay up to date on what he's doing in the space. But, any other last minute thoughts or where else can people find you?
Yeah, well, first off, thanks for having me on the show. Really appreciate it. It's been fun. I talk to you all the time, just never spoken like directly. But yeah, you can find me on Twitter. You can find me in the club. You can find me yeah, that's about it. Twitter. Yeah.
You can find you in the club?
Yeah, I was gonna make
full of bub?
Yeah, thanks. I forgot the rest of the lyrics. That's why I stopped. That's where I was going with it though.
I love it. I was like, right when you said it, I was like, I think he's gonna rhyme. I'll finish it off. Hey, again, thanks so much for being on here, man. Like, I love kind of melding the minds with different people, and I know, like you said, like we've been talking for a while, like through different chats, and I think it's good because sometimes we're like, I think our collecting strategy is always very similar, but then we're always like thinking different ways. So I wanted to hop on and kind of get your insight. I know the fam appreciates it. And thanks everyone for hopping in here too, and just for being present and for showing some love for the Gale. Again, go follow his channel, go subscribe and stay up to date. And we will see you on the next one, and see y'all later.
Yeah.